Hello dear friends, today I'm in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria meeting with Oleg Isonen. Oleg Isonen is one of the Berlin most known JavaScript evangelist, serial founder, expert, and the CEO of Webstudio. Webstudio is a platform that democratizes software development in the web and brings it to the edge of AI. And this is what we're going to talk about. And here, my friends, is Oleg Isonen.
Yeah, hi Oleg.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, so we met a couple of years ago, and throughout the time that I've known you, you've done remarkable things. You worked at Webflow, you've started career at Tesla, and recently you started entrepreneurship path with your own company, revolutionizing or democratizing the way you produce software in the web. So could you walk me through why this and why now?
There is a long answer to this question and there is a short one. Let's try the short version first. I think software development has made a number of cycles over the recent, let's say, 20 years or so. And we had visual development in the 90s, then we kind of lost it. Then we made web platform very mature and capable. And then we made our front-end tooling very complicated. And now to do basic things in the UI, you kind of need years of experience with basically mostly tooling, but also the web platform itself, which has become quite complex as well, especially when it comes to performance and complex layouts, etc. And so now we are in this kind of iteration where the platform is mature, but the tooling is too complex. So we are gatekeeping millions of people who could be building software by making it hard. And Webflow is the first project that showed that professional grade software, like very, very complex UI, fully controlled by the designer or developer, can be built visually on top of the web platform. And when I worked there, I got really inspired with making it possible to build websites, but also generally UI visually without writing code. And at some point, I realized to actually truly democratize this new approach, we cannot go with a closed source company kind of direction. We need to make it open source, we need to make it generally available for free, and we need to make sure that the entire process we are in right now of building this kind of new approach to visual development is entirely open. And that's kind of, for me, part of what open source means. To me, open source is not just opening up the code. To me, it's opening up the process. And since we are just in the beginning of this kind of journey, making visual development super capable, I think now is the time to start opening up the process of building those tools with kind of broader audience.
So you've mentioned several names and topics. So I've heard democratization, open source, decentralization. Is that connected with your political views?
Absolutely.
So who are you?
I'm a human being that doesn't like to be spied on, sold, made money off without me realizing, etc., etc. And we have all made this mistake as a society that we can just rely on some service that makes it all easy and hope for the best. It's not possible.
Oleg, you were an engineer at Tesla. They have, well, behind the leadership of Tesla, we obviously know that the mission to land on Mars. So imagine you are on Mars, and knowing all the flaws that we have on Earth, how should we set it up to make it a perfect planet for the human?
It's funny that you ask, because that's literally how I think about what I'm building daily. When I wake up, I think, if I wake up on Mars right now, how would I want the things to be? And when I think about it, I don't think I want to be part of Facebook or whatsoever that is centralized, governed, controlled by a central entity, and essentially spied on by NASA or whatever other organization exists in the world. I want to be in charge of my data. I want to be able to publish whenever I want, whatever I want. And I want the process of publishing applications, data, information to be fully decentralized, in the sense that the publisher, if they want to, they can fully control the entire thing, from the process of publishing or building to the actual final destination to the user.
Oleg, you coming from Belarus, not the most liberal and open source country in the world. What happened? What happened along the way? You moved to Germany and you grew up there, and what made you being so liberal in your views?
Well, I grew up in Belarus until I was 17, so I was so busy back then with school and sports and whatever I did there, that I don't think the country itself or their politics had any impact on me at all. I think I basically was doing the normal school life back then, which was very hard, because Soviet education is actually, it was some of the best in the world, and it's still as I was at school there, it was very, very hard. I was basically busy with math and informatics and whatever with school all day long. So I didn't have any views on politics or whatsoever. I remember one story, though, from that time, is that when there was another election, my mother is a teacher. She was teaching German language in the school, and they were basically literally told to vote for the current president. And they were literally, when they file in the paper, they were asked and looked in the eye, who did you vote for? And if you give the wrong answer, I don't know if they looked up in the end when you put it in, but I know for sure that people were literally told that they're going to be fired if they vote for the wrong person. So that I remember very well.
And just to push back, you mentioned that the former Soviet education was one of the best in the world, and very few people know that you were also one of the best violin player in Belarus among the youth, and you conceived as facts, and most people doesn't know you with that regard. And just out of curiosity, so the creativity was not there. So you mentioned that you were studying hard. Math was one of the foundations, music, but nobody asked you about creativity, where you want to be, how you want to evolve as an individual. And yet still you are considered to be, well, in my eyes, one of the most libertarian men in Berlin. So what helped you to develop to become Oleg the way you are right now?
I'm not sure I learned it somewhere. I have a feeling I have been like this all the way. I just discovered that what drives me during school, university time. Well, if I look back, probably even in Belarus, when I was studying informatics at school, it's 10th and 11th degree, we were basically asked to make a project in the informatics class, and I built a product when I was 17. I built a test system with Delphi and Turbo Pascal that would allow our psychologists at school to run the tests for entire class and aggregate the test results on a central computer and like save the results for later. And I basically worked with the school psychologist to build this thing, and I was like 17. I would guess that's just a born property of mine to not want to do anything that other people already are doing, like just looking for something interesting and new.
And if you could travel back with all the knowledge that you have right now into your 17 years old's mind, what would you whisper in your ears? Like, how would you then develop, knowing everything you know?
There are a couple of things. I think one of those things I regret not having learned properly when I was young is enjoying the long reads. I never learned to enjoy the reading. I read what I had to read, but I never learned how to enjoy it. So now if the information doesn't fit in my tweet or someone else's tweet or a blog post that is under like 2 minutes, I am probably not gonna learn from it, or I will learn but skim it very quickly because my brain requires very fast access to information. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not good. So I kind of regret when people talk about books, how much they enjoyed them, how much they learned from them. I feel completely left out. I don't know how people do it. And another thing is be better at math. Like I was okay, I was like an average, but I regret not having learned deeper and better math skills.
So if, learning, how important it is for us, and how do you learn? How do you, observe new skills?
So it may be just me, but I have never been able to really deeply learn, create, deep logical connections in my mind from just reading, kind of absorbing information from some kind of text. I am the person who needs to know why exactly I'm gonna need it, otherwise I'm not gonna learn. So, and that's how my entire life has been sort of shaped. When I wanted to learn JavaScript, I built a gallery, kind of slideshow type of thing, because I found one that looks really interesting. I didn't know it's possible with JavaScript. That's when I started learning JavaScript properly. And same thing happened to me basically over and over with everything I touch. Whenever I want to learn something, I'm not gonna research or study it. I'm just gonna build it. And when I build it, I'm gonna study it. Well, at least to the degree where I need the information.
Could you remind me what is Lingo TV?
What is what?
Well, there is a project that you've done in the past that's called
Lingo
TV, and it's connected with also ability to learn and languages. So it's quite an interesting project. You also not really kind of talking a lot about that, but when I've seen this first, I thought, wow, this is a novelty in terms of education of language teaching.
Okay, so the story is this. My mother is a German teacher, and I've been in the class the best one to know German, but the level was so low that basically nobody was properly speaking German in Belarus back then, and the teacher was like really, really bad. Like in the end, I was the class best, and I didn't know any German at all. I was from the perspective that I gained after moving to Germany, I was telling myself I would rather not have learned it at all than learn it this way. The way most countries teach people languages, in my mind, is just wrong. Language Language, first and foremost, is a way to communicate in a natural way. You don't need grammar to communicate, basic information. You just need to learn how to build the sentences in a more intuitive way. Because the problem is with all the schools, with all that grammar and reading all this, basic texts we get in schools, you cannot develop a language you can use out of this. To speak the language, you need to kind of speak it. And then to understand it, you need to listen a lot. So, long story short, I ended up not knowing German when I moved to Germany. I had to learn it basically from scratch. And I spent like 3 to 5 years until I got really good at this. And in that time, I was also trying I was at school in Germany and I was trying to learn English. And I couldn't. First of all, I was very afraid of the teacher. She was simply scary to me. And then, in addition to that, I just couldn't speak any English at all. And I was already like around 20, in my 20s. So I could read, I could understand a little bit, but I would not be able to watch a movie and enjoy it because I would not understand probably like 80% of it. Then I became an engineer and started working and realized I really need to improve my English skills. I really need it right now. And so what I did is I started watching Netflix. I switched off all the TVs, all the movies that I used to watch in German and completely switched to English. And I started watching, so the first thing I watched in English was Breaking Bad. And I liked the show so much that I started looking up each word I didn't understand. I was pausing the video to look up the word I didn't understand. And I was enjoying the shows so much that I was absorbing the language, and I basically improved my English skills from barely can speak to fluent in maybe like 2 months. I was watching this thing like every day for many hours. And then I realized that my process is not optimal. Like I have to pause the video, I have to look it up, Google Translate, type it in. It's annoying. So I built this tool that would just stream the subtitles from the browser, from Netflix, directly in the app on my phone, where I can see the subtitles coming in and tap on them and translate them in place while watching the movie and not pausing at all, like no interruption whatsoever. And that allowed me to kind of enjoy the movie and learn the language at the same time.
That's fascinating. Breaking Bad. Probably the producers wouldn't they underestimate the impact they've made on the youth along the world with the words and slang they could put in your mind. And do you believe that we could do the same thing with programming?
Well, the thing is with the approach I took for learning language was first of all using the platform, which is like TV show, which is already entertaining on itself, which was probably 50% of the deal, if not 80. If you want to make learning code same entertaining, you have to build a platform that is not directly, about learning, but it makes you feel entertained so that you actually want to learn. You need to make it an enjoyable experience. And when I think about writing code, it's like the purpose of writing code is building software, making something work. So if we can make something work in a more interesting, faster, enjoyable way, that's how we teach people to code faster. But the problem with coding is not the coding itself. Coding, writing logic, is not as hard as dealing with the tooling, platforms, compilers, supporting various operation systems, resolutions, etc., etc. That's where complexity is coming from, where the joy is being killed.
Do we even need to learn programming at all?
I do think that we need to learn basic logic skills expressing the logic with words, because it's not only about coding itself. Using words, whatever the language is, natural language or programming language, it is a way to express yourself. And when you try to express yourself without knowing the language that allows you to express yourself, you are getting stuck. I think the entire humanity wouldn't be where we are today without the languages we have, because language is basically the medium, the protocol that allows us to do things. So without a language that is properly designed to express an application logic, we won't be able to succeed. But the question is what kind of language we are going to use. Are we still going to be using like C++ or something like this? I don't think so. I hope not.
So, like digging deeper on this topic, so humanity made several attempts to develop a universal language. So Esperanto was one of the languages really known in Poland when I moved to study there. Yet it didn't stick. So with the same analogy, if we're looking at programming languages, the most adopted by the majority right now, at least on the front end, is JavaScript. Is that the way forward, or you believe it evolve in something totally different?
I hope it's not the language that we end up with. I'm very deep in JavaScript, and I've been using it for like 20 years, and I hope it's not the language that we're going to stick with. Because even though it's way better now than it was before, the amount of indirection and complexity in there is just not necessary. Where I think the evolution needs to happen or is happening is compilers. Understanding what the user is trying to do and producing code that is optimal for machines. The problem with coding is actually the duality of the process of writing code. If you're writing the code alone, yes, you're basically talking to the machine. But if you consider yourself, your future self, in like a month or 3 months or in a year, you're basically talking to your future self as well. And then if you're working in a team where a bunch of people also have to write code or read your code, which is a big problem on itself, then the machine becomes the least of your the least amount of problems that you have to deal with. Humans on the team are going to be the biggest problem, because if you are building something non-trivial, you have to express it in a way every other team member has to be able to understand very well. And if you're not doing it well, they will break it. They will make a mess out of anything you created. Whatever beautiful code you wrote, it's gonna guaranteed turn into a mess within 6 months if some other people are going to touch it. So the fundamental problem is, how do we express the logic in a way that is simple for humans to understand and yet efficient to compile to machines? That's where things are going to change.
So let's just simulate this environment. So you also a father, and if you're looking at your daughter, growing up from expressing herself, from crying, having some manual moves towards basic language, and just translating what you just say, that like moving forward, we have a compiler that understands expression. Can we imagine a world where this mid layer of programming is totally obsolete? So the human expression in terms of understandability by compiler could be understood by machine, so that future could be totally run by sort of AI simulated environment. Is that possible?
Yes and no. Because I think what many think is that programming can be sort of avoided, like made entirely obsolete, not necessary. But programming in general is a concept of, making someone else do things. And it doesn't matter if it's a machine or another human being. We are programming each other all the day. As a manager or as a CEO right now, my goal is to program my peers in a way that we are all aligned on the mission. So programming isn't going away. The medium, like how we do it, is changing. And so basically, the level of abstraction is changing. Like there is this definition of abstraction is basically a good abstraction is the one that is the most precise one. And so if we are talking about JavaScript and precision, the amount of stuff that you write just to express a click on a button is insanely imprecise. But what you actually want is to have a language that allows you to be super precise with what you want to achieve when the button is being clicked. And this is programming. It's just that we are going to have better tools to express the precision, you know. And natural language could be used for that. It's not impossible, but even inside of that natural language, like if you imagine you are talking to an AI, telling it what to build, and it will build it, inside of that natural language, you will still have to have another language that is precise and it's designed around this domain that you're working in. Like if it's a button, then you're building a UI. If it's a click, then something needs to happen in the UI. And like if there is a UI at all, and then if there is some kind of request going on to some server, all of those things, request, server, API, this is a language. So even if you imagine using natural language and you don't have to learn JavaScript, you will still learn a language.
So, you know, in effect, what you're doing right now is expressing yourself, well, expressing your mission, and you're expressing it with other people, you know, and this group of people creates a team, and you're moving this idea into product that becomes a purpose. So with, if I would just isolate this idea, what is the most critical skills the founder needs to have to actually bring this clarity?
Actually, you just said it. It's about bringing the clarity. I have to be able to express what we are doing and why we are doing in a way that everyone would understand in the team. And there is no single way of doing it, because on the team there is always a bunch of professionals from different areas, and each and every one of them will need to be. They will have their own way of understanding what we are doing, their own reasons. And my role is to be able to land on their level of abstraction, fully understand them, and then find words to talk to them on their level so that they fully understand the mission. That's kind of the hardest thing.
Who is the greatest founder that ever lived?
I think we will see them emerging yet. I don't know. Like Steve Jobs was pretty good about this, but he had some nasty properties, personal properties. So I never liked him personally. Then there are many people who were great, but I could not pin down one of them and say like this is the greatest of all times. I think everyone is great at what they're doing if they are successful, because you cannot become successful without doing at least a lot of things very right.
Working hard or working smart?
Definitely smart. In fact, working less is what I often tell my engineers. Like, I literally tell them, go like do sports, relax, do some time off. We need a better idea. Don't do just the thing that we just came up with in 5 minutes. Let's think about it again and again, because there are things that can be sort of decided quickly and worked on hard, and then they are done. And then there are some other things which you need to rethink before you start building, and you need to kind of give it time. Sometimes you need to sleep on it for a day, for a week, for months. I'm sleeping on certain things for an entire year, trying to not build them for now, because I know there is a better way to do it, but I just don't know how exactly. And this is where I say, like, as soon as you need to do something that you know has high impact, high potential to be wrong, be really smart about it, be really slow about it. don't work hard on it. It will not yield any result.
Then why don't you use iPhone?
Well, I was using iPhone for like a decade or so, like since it came out. It was the best. Now Android caught up in the UI part of the things. It's not bad anymore, and in fact, it is more open, more capable, more adjustable, and the camera on Pixel, for instance, it's just better than iPhone's camera. That's it. It's like it's more natural. It's easy to use. It's really great, and that's it.
You know, you founded your company not in Germany.
Yeah.
Is there a reason behind it?
Yeah. Germany sucks. Like the ecosystem for the legal ecosystem for creating companies in Germany is just bad. They are light years behind Silicon Valley. The things that you need to do to create a company, the amount of problems that you get if you want investors on board, especially if those are international investors, it's just too much. I built a company in a week. A US Inc. can be done using a bunch of services, like for instance Stripe, within a couple of hours. Then you will get all the papers from IRS, depending how busy they are, within 1 or 2 weeks. That's it.
Well, you know, still Germany considered to be one of the greatest places to live. A lot of talented developers moving here for lifestyle. If we to look forward, do you believe that Germany will have an opportunity to play the global place or launchpad for talented people actually to realize their ideas here?
I would even go further and say, why Germany? Why only Germany? Why is not every single country in the world going to be open for anyone who wants to live there? Why can't we be just free? And I know there is complications with, allowing everyone move any day to any country, and et cetera, et cetera. There are like demographical issues and economical issues and legal issues. But in my worldview, in my mindset, I don't belong to any particular country. In fact, right now I'm a German citizen. I have a company in the US, and I spent last 2 months on Canary Islands. So because the weather is just good. Why can't we live all like that? Why do things have to be hard and nasty and annoying? Like I think I'm quite privileged. Well, super privileged probably in what I can do and what I'm doing, what I'm able to do, thanks to many factors. But Germany will get better at legal side of things for building startups. But I think the entire ecosystem, the global ecosystem, is going to be better. In fact, I consider the US Inc. Basically one of the first who made it so easy to create a company in the US, and other countries have to follow. And until they do, people will just live and wherever they live and create companies in the US, and those countries will potentially lose a lot of taxes, money, because they just don't create good conditions for creating companies.
And what is your views are actually, like running this? So you've mentioned that you are in Gran Canaria. So I believe that the amount of talented people in Berlin or in San Francisco is a lot higher than you see on the streets of Gran Canaria. How would you advise a young founder to actually get it right, do it remote first, create an online presence? Like, what would be the steps for somebody who would want to be an Oleg, but with his own idea?
Well, first of all, you need a little bit of experience running a remote company, because it's not just about creating a Slack organization and starting a chat. There is a lot of processes that you need to be aware of. You need to, like, the people you work with are still humans, so they come with same requirements and problems no matter where they are, which means you have to bring them on the mission. You have to make sure they have work they enjoy that fulfills them, and then on top of that you have to do this asynchronously. It's an additional challenge, in fact, but it's not an impossible challenge anymore. It's, in fact, we have tools for everything today. It's just a matter to properly using them, and for this you kind of need to be a contributor to an organization that is remote before you start your own organization. Just work for a company that is remote for a couple of years, and you will learn everything you need to learn how to build. You will just know what you want other people to feel when they work for you.
You're talking in a class for students that are about to graduate the school, and they asking the same questions. And what would be like the 3 essential tools they need to learn already to get this fresh start for working in a remote first environment?
I don't know. There is like Slack, there is Discord, there is Twitter, there's a bunch of tools, but none of them is kind of a requirement. The question is, when you are just fresh out of college and you're just starting, what should you do? Like, where do you go? And there I have a very clear answer. Do your research. Really look into every company out there that exists, that makes interesting things. Really dig deep into what they're doing, how they're doing it. Research it like to the level where you almost know them as good as anyone else working for them. And then during that process, you will discover yourself. You will discover what interests you have, what you like, what you want to build. And once you have done this work, you can go to any company that provides you opportunity to do what you want. And they will want you because they see the fit.
Well, I'm looking at my kids. I'm looking at friends of my kids, and it's extremely hard to stay focused, because we have, bombarded with all kind of information. And what you mentioned, research, deep research, means stay focused in specific, domain. How do you do that?
I don't know. I
or
guess
how kids should do that, or like youth should do that to reserve that focus.
Are you talking about like 7 years old or like 20 years old kids?
Let's think about 16, when you already have an idea, what you want to be doing, at least like in a hollow mode.
I think a 16 years old person is probably already capable enough to read through stuff, to learn things online. In fact, they're born with computers. They know their ways around it. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong and they are only consuming information from TikTok. But I would hope not. I would hope they can read through whatever catches their interest and play with things. It's just a general discovery journey. Everyone is doing it in their own way, and there is a lot of topics. I wouldn't know, for instance, how to go and discover, I don't know, investment kind of knowledge, because I'm just literally not good at this. But if it's about programming and building products, that seems to me very easy and straightforward. You just use products, you see products, you decide to build one of them, you start Googling, or using ChatGPT and ask it questions, how do I build this? And it will tell you what you need to do next. And then you go from there and like you just research and you start building. That's what I would do.
So looking at this ChatGPT and the hype that we have around AI, how do you think it will evolve?
I think we are going to, over the next 5 years, we are going to use Google less and less. We will probably still use Google or similar search engines for things that require real-time or very fresh data. But for anything that is fundamental, that is already known for years, you will probably want to talk to an AI, because the way I discover information or learn is not natural the way we do it with search engine. The way we do it with a chat, that's fully natural. I'm just asking straight what I need. It gives me an answer. If I don't understand the answer, I ask again. And that's how we have conversation. That's the most straightforward way to learn.
So, if you look for something, you say, I will Google it. I Google that, I Google you. What the terms that we're going to be using in the next 5 years?
Well, Google is still going to be relevant in the next 5 years, but it's going to be either adapting, providing its own version of ChatGPT, or we will be probably Googling less and less and use, like ChatGPT is essentially to me like a brain that knows everything, and it answers my questions, my personal questions, the way I want to have the answer, and it just understands me much better. Where in Google I have to talk to it using its language, scroll through tons of advertisements, be annoyed at every click and at every search result that is not high quality, because even with all the technology behind Google search, the results are still not great. It's like they match the search query very well, but do they provide the highest value? I like the most precise, the most valuable answer? Rarely. I usually have to go through at least first page of links, look at every answer, make my own mind about the answers, and that's a time-consuming process.
So the most obvious job that will be lost is a copywriter, because most obviously the ChatGPT already does it better, at least better than me.
Yeah, because we are not a copywriter.
Because we're not a copywriter. What are the list of obvious jobs that will be fundamentally changed, so will go away with AI in the next years?
I think jobs that will go away are the jobs that currently don't require huge expertise to execute them. So essentially any junior level of job will potentially be optimized away, automated. But any type of job where even the copywriter, where actual expertise, experience, many years experience are required, I don't think it's going to be replaced in the near future, if at all. Because, well, ChatGPT is essentially making everyone a junior at everything. But to become an experienced professional, so many factors go into becoming a professional that I would say an AI would have to become fully human level of awareness to do this, actually. And, until this happens, I don't think it's going to replace anyone where huge amount of experience is required.
We talk about actually your product. So you're building a platform that enables anyone with a good idea to create a web presence. But also we covered up this AI ability to transform expression into something actionable. Do you believe that, or actually do you feel that your company also might be at risk with with like the speed of evolvement we have in AI?
Definitely every company out there right now, if they are not adapting in some form in AI, in particular ChatGPT, they are going to be outperformed by other products. The question is, how do you use it in a way that makes a difference? What kind of and I don't think there is a single answer to that. I think every company is going to be uniquely using it to solve certain problems in their product. For instance, with WebStudio, there is actually two kind of deep foundational problems, difficult, challenging things, besides of the usual things. So first of all, it's what I call a blank canvas problem. And second of all is the logic problem. The logic problem is essentially what we already discussed, is like in some way, in some form, I will need to have logic. When I have a form, sign up form, when I click on the button, I want something to happen. And if I want to be like, well, I could just send the data as it is to some server and save it in a database, sure. But if I want to, if I want to have some kind of logic, when Sergey is signing up, I want to receive a message in my chat, or trigger some other process, or do whatever I want, then I need logic. And so again, how do I express this logic? And in this case, yeah, AI could help. And that's the thing that I think is going to be solved very soon, very well. Another problem is the blank canvas problem. So the blank canvas problem is essentially when you open a visual development interface, whatever that is, WebStudio, Webflow type of thing, and you have no idea what you do. Normally, the usual way of solving it is just providing templates, and that's where you hate it before you even started working on it, because the template is going to be used by millions of other projects. And so how do we avoid using a template and yet start with something that is not zero? And this is where AI and ChatGPT could be really useful, because I could start with using prompt to describe what I want to build. It will give me something, and then it's about the quality and the UX of the tool to let you adjust whatever was created for you. So that's a big thing that I really want to have for WebStudio. But another thing is actually education. I think ChatGPT is going to be changing education quite a bit. And when we are talking about a tool like WebStudio, it's a quite complex product. It's built for professionals. It's very capable. And people will be struggling to start using it when they are first time in the platform. So how do we teach them? Normal way, again, creating a video course or university, spend millions and millions of dollars on building high quality video content. And then there is ChatGPT. You just give it all the information, write blog posts, which is much faster and easier to update. And it will teach your user whatever question they need to learn. So it's kind of enabling humans to adapt complex products much faster, and that's something I'm really excited about, because it's going to solve a huge pain of mine.
And to wrap it up, just like in among our friends, we call you Vishelik, or the Oleg, that knows everything, because you're very opinionated. You have.
I definitely don't know everything, but things that I know, I'm very opinionated about.
Oleg the preacher, yeah. So translating to English directly, and if you have like several predictions for the next year, so we just started 2023. What awaits us in the next year in technology, politics, climate, anything that you've been thinking of?
I would say that the AI is going to change every part of of the ecosystem, whatever we are doing today, it's going to change everything from medicine to schools to entertainment. Everything is going to change now, and we will see huge shifts in the next 5 years. And primarily, I don't think the shifts are going to be like firing people. I think the shifts is going to be going dramatically better ways about everything, building things more incredible, more fast, cheaper, and just better overall in every aspect of our lives. Next 5 years are going to be super exciting.
Do we still have place for love and emotions?
Sure. Like I know for sure we will at some point love an AI. We will
Will we falling in love with our AI assistants?
well, consider this: AI can become as emotional and as humanoid as possible at some point, and yet it doesn't have to be nasty. Doesn't have to expose all the bad properties humans have. What would you love more? A human that is flawed, or AI that is like just the way you love it? You wanna love it. Like, I think it's gonna be a change as well.
Is the institution of traditional marriage will still exist?
In 5 years, for sure. But does it exist today in the way it was existing 20 years ago? It doesn't, right? Like, technically it exists, but how many people are staying married for the entire life? I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm sure it went down from 90% or something like this to 10% in the last 20 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't research.
How will we be growing kids, and what model, like in your view?
I think the way we treat kids will change as well. It starts with how we let them learn, but that's from a little later age, like after 4 or 5 years old, after they can start talking to something. Actually, like a tree, they are already talking, so they could as well talk to an AI and learn as well differently. But then there is another aspect. Obviously, we still want to make them human and create emotional attachments with our kids. So I just think we will have more times to play with them instead of spending that time fixing the mess they created, like cleaning up behind them, organizing everything, like working for the kids. Like right now, as a parent, you're basically working for the kid because you're solving all the problems around the maintaining the kid's life. I think that's where we will just have more time for spending fun times with the kid instead of working for the kid. That, at least what I would hope.
And what is fun for you?
In relation to the kids?
No, overall, like, how do you enjoy life?
That's a good question. I do not think I'm representative for anyone because essentially I'm very driven, and the most fulfilling times during the day are the times where I achieve something on my mission. And then the times in between is just where I try to enjoy physical part of the life, sort of doing activities, sports, family stuff, and just, moving myself in the physical world a little bit. But I think if it takes more than 10% of my day, I'm becoming less and less interested in that and starting to shift my thinking towards what I was actually, building on my computer. So I'm 80%, 90% living in a digital world.
So last year was like the critical year for many. Like we've described this, like, the mostly impactful on the society, like on many aspects. was there a single event that made the biggest influence on you, and what was that?
There was only a personal event that made an impact on me, basically health related, where I have been struggling with some back pain for a while, and nobody could fix me. And then I found a guy who brought me this thing. It's called foundational training, and it just fixed my back. And that happened basically in January last year, somewhat around this time as we speak right now. And that just made me like think, okay, now I don't have this problem anymore, at least not in a sense that it's killing me every day. Like, what do I actually want to do with my life? And I'm like, okay, I actually wanted to build this web studio thing for a while now. Let's do it now. And essentially within the next 2 months, I started working on it.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Oleg, for the time we've spent together. It was great talking to you, and very much good luck with your new venture, and looking forward for anyone from us start using that.
Yeah, thank you so much, and feel free to ask me anything. I know everything.
Thanks.
See you.
Ciao.
Bye.